YouTube's confusing and often mysterious demonetization policies have been a big topic of conversation for the past several months. In addition, especially since the controversy over the 2017 rewind, there's been a lot of discussion over how there seems to be a bit of a disconnect between the creators that YouTube values and the creators that YouTube fans value. That video was so dominated by Viners and people like Stephen Colbert, who by and large people wouldn't really consider to be real YouTubers, you know? A lot of asses are chapped right now over what people feel to be YouTube turning its back on its own homegrown content creators. But until now, I think that viewpoint was mostly just conjecture. And I say until now because just recently, a Twitter user by the name Dogtower has claimed to be a whistleblower with inside documents. And before I really get into this, I want you to take everything I'm about to say with a grain of salt, because like I said, this person is only claiming to be who they are. They say that they're afraid of consequences. There are non-disclosure agreements involved that are being broken with this. But at the very same time, they could just as easily be making shit up, so we don't really know. A lot of what's being said here does seem to line up with the common fears that people have. And now this person, Dogtower, they're claiming to be a YouTuber who's afraid of the consequences of sharing this information, so I guess thank God for people like me with nothing to lose. So now this Dogtower person, they're claiming that the person who shared this inside information with them was a fan of their work, a person working inside Google and YouTube who became privy to these documents and wanted to share it because it felt it needed to be shared. This person worked for a third-party company that was hired by Google as a web search evaluator. Once they got into the work of being a web search evaluator, they found out that what they were really doing is being the people who do the manual reviews of demonetized videos. In doing this work, the people who are web search evaluators were given a set of guidelines that they could use to decide whether or not a manually reviewed video should stay demonetized. Now, there's a few things that are interesting to me about these documents. First and foremost, the fact that if these more specific guidelines exist, why don't they just fucking tell us? Like, if they just fucking told us what the guidelines were, we could, I don't know, maybe make an attempt to follow the guidelines, not constantly be guessing amongst ourselves, playing these guessing games to try and figure out what it is that YouTube actually wants. But I feel like on some level, it's confusing by design. Furthermore, even though these guidelines exist, at the end of the day, they do leave a lot of discretion up to the people doing the manual reviews. Basically, if you personally would not feel comfortable viewing this in public, then by all means, demonetize it. And in these screenshots, if they're legitimate, and they look pretty fucking legitimate, they look very consistent with YouTube's design. If this is how it is, then this is what it looks like if you're a third-party person, if you're doing the manual review of a video, deciding whether or not to stick to demonetizing it. What's more interesting to me, and potentially even more damning, is the claim by this person that before all of these changes took place, the demonetizations, the AI learning, the demonetization bots that are probably gonna hit this video as it comes out, those things, they all came about after a secret meeting between higher-ranking YouTube management and select creators, who I imagine now, these select creators, I think we might get an idea of who they are if we took a look at that 2017 rewind. But this meeting allegedly happened, and let's take a look at what's being said about this meeting. This all started to take effect after YouTube held a private meeting with select creators. Obviously, the media issues gave this all a violent shove into reality, but YouTube had been ramping up to make changes before this all came to pass. A different contact of mine was involved in the secret meeting with YouTube, which took place around mid-2016 at a Google office in Los Angeles. The meeting had one purpose: to discuss what should be done with unwanted creators on their platform. Some unwanted channel names that were mentioned were Leafyishere, GradeAUnderA, Keemstar/DramaAlert, Scarce and Onision. The fact that they named specific channels that are undesirable, toxic channels to me is bold as fuck. Like, love or hate these fucking channels, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this video hate some of these fucking channels, but love them or hate them, I feel like a lot of us would agree that they're more intrinsic to YouTube. You'd be more apt to call these people YouTubers before you would call a fucking Lele Pons or Jake Paul or fucking Stephen Colbert a fucking YouTuber. These are more central to the culture of what YouTube actually fucking is, I would think. And then you have to think about the creators that weren't named in that list. Like, is H3H3 a toxic channel? I imagine that sources inside YouTube might say yeah. You know, like, these aren't fringe nobody channels. These are channels with millions and millions of subscribers that make tons of revenue for YouTube. So obviously you can see why they're struggling with the way to deal with these toxic channels, because it would be a big fucking disaster for them if they just kicked them off all at once. All the creators in attendance were made to sign NDAs. The creators were asked what they felt should be done about the more toxic channels on YouTube. There was no conclusion from YouTube's end, but it was agreed upon that no censorship or channel deletion should occur and that something else should be done. Months later, demonetization began sweeping the platform and hindering the growth of countless channels. So there you go, and like I said, take this all with a grain of salt because it's an anonymous source, so we can't really confirm it. I haven't taken enough of my fucking brain force today to confirm an anonymous source, but it does kind of sound like it confirms a lot of our fears about the direction that YouTube is going in. It seems like in all likelihood, YouTube has a clear vision of what it wants for itself in the future, and it doesn't include creators like Leafy, Keemstar, probably not H3H3, who knows about Philip DeFranco even. It sure as shit doesn't envision a future with Whang at the top, that's for damn sure. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think that these inside sources are to be believed? Do you think that this exposure now will lead to some admissions or some changes on YouTube's end? Let me know in the comments. Oh yeah, I just remembered from the last video that, among the things being unmonetized are my end screens, so I have to once again, do a Vanna White for you. So you can, here's my next featured video. I think it's the one about them demonetizing Whang, so I guess we have an ongoing theme here. And until next time, everybody get fucked, I don't even fucking care.